There is a kind of pain that doesn't just hurt you, it rearranges you. Betrayal does that. It's the moment when the person you trusted with your heart becomes the one who shattered it. And suddenly the world you thought was safe feels unfamiliar. Your chest feels tight. Your thoughts won't stop spinning. You replay conversations, memories, promises, wondering how something that once felt so real could end in something that feels so cruel. Betrayal is not just heartbreak, it's confusion. It's grief. It's the quiet voice inside you whispering, was any of it real? And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Healing from betrayal isn't just about forgiving someone else. It's about rebuilding the relationship you have with yourself. Because betrayal shakes the very foundation of trust. Not just trust in them, but trust in your own judgment, your own heart, your own ability to see people clearly. You start questioning everything. How did I not see this? Why did I believe them? Is something wrong with me? But healing begins the moment you stop turning the knife inward. Listen carefully. Betrayal says nothing about your worth. It says everything about someone else's inability to honor the trust they were given. And the first step in healing is not pretending it didn't hurt. It's not rushing to forgive. It's not acting strong. The first step is allowing yourself to admit the truth. This broke me, and I need time to heal. Because the moment you face the pain honestly, that's the moment healing quietly begins. The second step in healing from betrayal is something many people are afraid to do. You have to name the wound. Most of us are taught to move on quickly. We hear things like just forget about it. Be the bigger person. Don't let it affect you. But when betrayal cuts deep, pretending you're fine doesn't heal the wound. It only buries it. And buried pain doesn't disappear. It grows in silence. It turns into resentment. It turns into mistrust. It turns into emotional armor that slowly isolates you from the world. Healing begins when you have the courage to say the words that feel uncomfortable, messy, and painfully honest. I feel hurt. I feel angry. I feel humiliated. I feel heartbroken. Those words are not weakness. They are truth, and truth is where healing starts. When someone betrays you, your nervous system goes into survival mode. Your brain tries to protect you by scanning for danger everywhere. Suddenly, you start doubting people, questioning intentions, and guarding your heart like a fortress. That reaction isn't dramatic, it's human. But healing requires something powerful, emotional awareness. Instead of numbing the pain with distractions, denial, or revenge, you sit with it, you acknowledge it, you allow yourself to feel what actually happened. Because pain that is acknowledged can be processed. Pain that is ignored becomes poison. And here's the paradox: the moment you stop pretending you're okay is often the moment your strength begins to return. Not the loud, performative kind of strength, but the quiet, steady strength of someone who is brave enough to face their own wounds and begin the work of healing them. To begin healing, you must understand something important. Betrayal hurts so deeply because it violates one of our most basic human needs: trust. Trust is the invisible thread that holds relationships together. It's what allows you to open your heart, to be vulnerable, to believe someone will treat your story with care. When you trust someone, you lower your defenses. You share parts of yourself that the world rarely sees: your fears, your dreams, your insecurities, your hope. And betrayal doesn't just break that trust. It shatters the sense of safety you built around that relationship. That's why the pain feels so overwhelming. It's not just about what the person did. It's about the realization that someone who knew your heart still chose to harm it. Your mind starts searching for answers. How could they do this? Did they ever truly care? Was I just blind? But here's the difficult truth. Sometimes betrayal isn't about your blindness. Sometimes it's about someone else's unwillingness to honor the responsibility that comes with being trusted. And understanding this matters because many people turn betrayal inward. They start believing the lie that they were too naive or too trusting. But trust is not a weakness. Trust is courage. Trust is the brave act of saying, I believe in the good in you. The problem isn't that you trusted. The problem is that someone didn't respect the sacred space that trust created, healing begins when you stop punishing yourself for being open-hearted. Your willingness to trust is not something to be ashamed of. It is proof that your heart is still capable of love, connection, and courage. And that is not something betrayal gets to take away from you. After betrayal, there is a dangerous place many people fall into. It's the quiet, painful habit of blaming themselves. You start replaying every memory like a detective searching for the moment everything went wrong. Your mind whispers questions that slowly turn into accusations. I should have seen the signs. I was too trusting. I ignored the red flags. Maybe I'm the reason this happened. And before you realize it, the betrayal that someone else committed becomes a story where you're the one on trial. But listen closely to this truth, because it's a turning point in the healing process. Taking responsibility for someone else's betrayal is not accountability, it's self-punishment. Yes, reflection can be healthy. It's okay to ask what you learned. It's okay to notice patterns that you might want to change in the future. But there is a difference between learning from pain and using pain to attack yourself. Self-blame keeps you stuck in the past. It keeps the betrayal alive inside you, replaying over and over like a wound that never gets the chance to close. Real healing begins when you gently shift the question. And instead of asking, what's wrong with me, you begin asking, what do I need now to heal? That question changes everything. Because healing isn't about proving you were perfect. It's about showing yourself compassion in a moment when your heart feels shattered. You deserved honesty. You deserved respect. You deserved someone who protected your trust instead of breaking it. And the moment you stop attacking yourself for someone else's choices is the moment you begin reclaiming your power. Healing after betrayal requires something many people try to avoid. You have to grieve. And not just the relationship itself. You grieve the future you imagined, the memories that now feel different, and the version of the story you once believed was true. Betrayal doesn't just end something. It changes the meaning of what once existed. You might look back at moments that once felt beautiful and suddenly question them. The laughter, the promises, the plans for the future, they all feel heavier now, touched by the knowledge of what eventually happened. That's why the grief can feel so confusing. You're not only mourning a person, you're mourning the trust, the safety, and the dream you built around that connection. And grief is not neat. It doesn't move in a straight line. One day, you might feel strong and clear, convinced you're moving forward. The next day, a small memory, a song, or a familiar place can bring a wave of sadness that feels just as intense as the beginning. This is not failure. This is grief doing its work. Our culture often rushes people through pain. We celebrate quick recovery, quick forgiveness, quick closure. But real healing doesn't work on a schedule. Sometimes your heart needs time to sit with the truth of what happened, to feel the anger, to feel the sadness, to feel the disappointment. Because grief is not a sign that you're weak. Grief is a sign that something mattered deeply to you. And when you allow yourself to grieve fully, something powerful begins to happen. The pain slowly stops controlling you. And instead of carrying the weight of the betrayal everywhere you go, you begin to carry wisdom. One of the most powerful steps in healing after betrayal is learning something many of us were never growing up. You must learn to set boundaries. When someone betrays you, the instinct can go in two extreme directions. Some people shut everyone out completely, building walls so high that no one can ever hurt them again. Others do the opposite. They try to fix the relationship immediately, hoping that if they love harder or forgive faster, the pain will disappear. But neither of those paths leads to real healing. Boundaries are not about punishment. They are about protection. A boundary is simply a clear statement of what you will and will not allow in your life moving forward. And here's something important: when someone breaks your trust, your heart needs space to recover. That space is not cruel. It is necessary. You might decide you need distance. You might decide certain conversations are no longer acceptable. You might even decide that someone no longer has access to your life the way they once did, those decisions are not acts of revenge. They are acts of self-respect. Many people struggle with boundaries because they worry about being seen as harsh or unforgiving. But protecting your peace is not the same as holding a grudge. It's simply recognizing that trust, once broken, takes time and consistent action to rebuild. Healing requires you to stop prioritizing someone else's comfort over your own emotional safety. And the moment you begin honoring your own limits, something shifts inside you. You realize that your heart is not helpless. It is capable of protecting itself, learning from pain, and creating relationships built on honesty and respect. And that realization is the beginning of a much stronger kind of trust, the trust you build with yourself. One of the quiet consequences of betrayal is something people rarely talk about. It doesn't just damage your trust in others. It damages your trust in yourself. After betrayal, many people start questioning their own instincts. You replay moments in your mind and think, how did I not see this? Why did I believe them? Can I even trust my judgment anymore? That self-doubt can be one of the deepest wounds betrayal leaves behind. Because when you stop trusting yourself, the world begins to feel unpredictable and unsafe. But healing requires an important shift in how you see what happened. Your mistake was not trusting someone. Your mistake, if there was one, was believing that trust meant guaranteed safety. But trust has never been a guarantee. Trust is always a risk. It is a courageous act of opening your heart without knowing exactly how someone will treat it. And the fact that someone betrayed that trust does not mean your instincts are broken. It means someone made a choice that violated the responsibility of being trusted. Rebuilding trust with yourself begins with small, intentional steps. You start listening to your inner voice again. You start noticing how your body reacts to certain situations. You begin honoring the subtle signals that once told you when something felt right or wrong. Self-trust grows when you start keeping promises to yourself, when you say you deserve honesty, and you mean it. When you say you deserve respect, and you enforce it, little by little, you rebuild the relationship with yourself that betrayal tried to fracture. And the powerful truth is this: the more you learn to trust yourself again, the less power betrayal has over your future. Because your strength was never in your ability to avoid pain. Your strength is in your ability to learn from it and rise wiser than before. One of the hardest parts of healing after betrayal is accepting something deeply uncomfortable. You may never get the answers you want. When someone hurts you, your mind searches desperately for explanations. You want the truth laid out clearly so the pain makes sense. You want to ask questions like, why did you do this? Did you ever really care? What was I to you? And somewhere inside you is the hope that if they just explain themselves honestly, the confusion will disappear and your heart will finally feel at peace. But the painful reality is that many people who betray trust either cannot explain their behavior or will not. Sometimes they avoid responsibility. Sometimes they lie. Sometimes they minimize what happened. And sometimes their answers are so shallow that they create even more pain than the betrayal itself. If your healing depends on their honesty, their apology, or their ability to give you closure, you hand them continued control over your emotional recovery. Real healing requires a different kind of courage. It requires letting go of the belief that your peace must come from their explanation. Closure is not something someone else hands to you. Closure is something you create for yourself. It's the moment you accept that their choices reflect their character, their wounds and their limitations, not your worth. You may never fully understand why it happened, but you can still decide what happens next. You can choose growth instead of bitterness. You can choose wisdom instead of obsession. You can choose peace instead of endless questioning. And when you finally release the exhausting search for answers, you create space for something much more important: your own healing. Healing from betrayal is not just about surviving the storm. It's about coming home to yourself. After someone breaks your trust, your heart often feels like a fractured landscape. You avoid opening up, you armor yourself, and you promise never to let anyone in that deeply again. But true healing requires a different approach. You have to reconnect with your own heart. Start by listening to your feelings without judgment. Anger, it's valid. Sadness, it's necessary. Fear, it's a messenger, not a prison. Each emotion is trying to tell you something important about your needs, your limits, and your resilience. Then, begin to care for yourself intentionally. Do things that nourish your spirit, a walk in nature, journaling your thoughts, creating art, or simply sitting quietly with your own presence. These acts may seem small, but they rebuild the trust between you and your own heart. Part of reconnecting also means rediscovering what brings you joy, meaning, and confidence. A betrayal often convinces us that we are fragile or unworthy. But when you actively invest in your own happiness, you quietly reclaim your power. Healing is not about erasing the past. It's about making your heart safe for yourself again. It's about learning that you can feel deeply, love bravely, and still protect your inner world. And here's the beautiful truth. The more you reconnect with yourself, the less you need validation from others. Your worth is no longer defined by someone else's choices. Your trust in yourself becomes unshakable. Reconnecting with your heart is not the final step, but it is the most transformative step. It is the foundation upon which the final, liberating stage of healing is built. The final step in healing after betrayal is the most empowering, embracing your freedom. By now, you have faced the pain, named it, grieved it, set boundaries, rebuilt trust in yourself, and reconnected with your heart. You have done the hardest work, the work of refusing to let betrayal define you. Healing is not a neat process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't erase the past, but it transforms you. It changes the way you see the world, the way you choose relationships, and the way you honor your own worth. Freedom comes when you stop carrying the weight of someone else's choices. It comes when you realize that their betrayal says nothing about your value, nothing about your capacity to love, and nothing about the life you are still capable of creating. And here's the beautiful truth. Freedom doesn't mean forgetting. Freedom doesn't mean trusting blindly again. Freedom means you choose your life consciously with awareness, courage, and self-respect. You can still feel the scar. You can still remember the pain. But that scar is no longer a chain. It is a mark of survival, a testament to your resilience, a reminder that your heart can heal even when it feels impossible. Betrayal took something from you, yes, but it cannot take the lessons you learned, the boundaries you set, or the strength you discovered in yourself. So step forward, trust yourself, protect your heart, love deeply, wisely, and unapologetically, because healing is not just about surviving betrayal. It's about becoming more alive, more courageous, and more beautifully whole than ever before. Your story is not over. In fact, the best chapters are still waiting to be written. And this time, you are the author,